Hello, everyone. I'm Taryn Blake, Community Engagement Program Manager, and I'll be your host for this week's session, as usual. So welcome to another edition of our Technomatics Virtual User Group Community Conversations. And today's topic is model manual store picking with worker logic. So thank you for everyone who's joining. As you may know, our presenter for today is Mr. Steffen Bangsow, who is a freelance simulation expert with many years of experience and hundreds of projects and training sessions under his belt. Steffen also has 5 books on plant simulation and is one of the leading contributors to our Siemens PLM community. So for today, for the model with the workers, he'll be identifying part locations within a store, calculating picking positions dynamically, programming the worker movement and picking behavior, and then modeling realistic manual picking workflows. So again, Steffen will go through the presentation. If you have a question as he's going, type it in the chat so we don't miss it. And then we'll do the Q&A via hand raise at the end of the demo. That's all for my introduction. Steffen, feel free to steal the screen.
Hello again to our webinar. Today's topic is how to model a picking process by the worker. And I prepared a model, a starting model, and you can download it from the community if you want to follow. It contains already a source and 10 different parts, and the source creates part 1 to part 10, all have different colors. And the topic we want to model is that the worker should go to the store and move several parts from the store, and he needs to move in between this picking positions. And this is only one solution. There will be a second part of this webinar at the Realize Live in Detroit, and this will be also recorded. There are several ways to do this. First, you need to decide, do you want to use really the worker to model this, or do you want to use a transporter to model this picking process? My approach here is to use the worker. And if you want to use the worker, then you need to decide, do you want to use the transport importer, or do you want a worker without automatic mediation? And this example is how to use a worker without active mediation, without broker, and without the transport importer. And so you have a lot of different ways to do this. But if you want to move the worker between several pick positions, then you will have a big problem with the transport importer. You can load several parts with the transport importer, but he will not change the position, the picking position. You can pick several parts, but you can move in between. So I will start with a really simple. I will add here some elements. I need the worker pool, of course. I want to have a train where I move the parts. And I need some workplaces. I need one workplace at the train. And I need 2 workplaces for moment at the German. I renamed the workplaces, workplace 1 and workplace 2. I want to use a quite simple approach. I use 2 workplaces for the movement of the worker. And if you, for instance, if the worker is located on workplace 1, then he needs to walk to workplace 2, and then you can move the workplace 1 again for the next movement, and then the worker goes from workplace 2 to workplace 1. You cannot use the same workplace because if you move the workplace with the worker on it, then you don't get the right behavior, and then you can use go to work with between these 2 workplaces. You need to get the information where is the part you need to pick, and I can upload 2 different versions of this approach at the end of this week. One is you can use the world coordinate of the part to get the right position for the workplace. And another approach is to calculate the position of the part based on the position inside the store. It's a little bit more complicated, but also it works. It works better if you want to use get world coordinate. Then it's difficult if you have subframes, and inside the subframes this store, then get world coordinate doesn't work like expected. Okay, I want to have one order table. This order table contains the picking order. I want to have part 2, part 4, part 4, part 7, part 9. You have 10 parts if you use my example, so you can select a different order of parts, only the part names here. And we need a method. I name it pick control. And within the init method, the pick control will be called for the first time. I wait 1 second for the start of pick control. Pick control is wrong here. to give the source time to fill the store. Okay, first I don't want to use brokers here, so I delete the broker from the worker pool, and I want to use the worker without active mediation, and this you can set in the attributes of the worker itself. I take the worker here, press F8, and here it's the attribute automatic mediation, and I set this to false. Yes, and then we can start with the pick control. Again, the approaches, we use two workplaces in a sequence to set new destinations for the worker, and we need to calculate the position of the parts and then move the workplace to the right position, and then we can let the worker go to this position and move one part, and then he goes to the next position, move the next part. And so with this changing the workplaces, we can create this complex behaviors only with two workplaces, not with a lot of workplaces too. And you need to check the capacity of the worker. I have set the worker set dimension to 10. So you can also create example where the worker has to move all the 10 parts. Okay, let's start with the pick control. I need some variables here. I need a part as object. The same, I need a worker as object. I need an iterator for a loop. And I need an array for the workplace position. With X, Y, and Z position and a workplace object. And the sequence for the workplaces. Starter value is 1. The worker we get with worker pool with assigned worker. And then we create a loop. To get all the parts from the order table. And this we make within a loop. So as first step, I select one of the two workplaces. I use WP sequence here for switching between these two workplaces. Should have only two values. If it's one, then the workplace object is workplace 1. Then I need to switch to WP sequence 2. Else, okay, then it's workplace 2. And I switch back to sequence number 1. Then I need a part as object. This we can set. This is very simple, this example. So we have all the parts, we don't need to wait for this, and we can use the statement find part. To get the right part from the order. Next, we need to find the position of the part. Underline 3D, all the 3D methods and attributes, and get world coordinate. You get the coordinate of this part inside the top frame, and this is also a limitation. If you have several layers of frames, then and you have changed the position of the subframe and the top frame, then maybe you get a wrong coordinate, and then you can create this position using the store itself, and you can get the position of the place where the part is located, and then you can calculate the position within the store, and then using the store position you can calculate the position within the subframe. We need to correct this position. We get the position of this part, but the workplace needs to have some offset here, in this case in Y direction. Otherwise the workplace would be underneath the store, and so we need offset in Y direction, and we need to set the set position of the we need to set the set position to 0 to get the right position of the workplace. Otherwise we get failure if we try to walk to this workplace and the workplace is not located on set 0. And so we need to correct .8 and position Z should be 0. And then we have the position of near the parts on the store on this rack, and then we can move one of this one of the two workplaces. We can move to this position. I select the right one here, and so WP is my workplace, and I need to set 3D dot position. And as next step, I can call the worker to this workplace. And there's a command go to. If the worker leaves the workplace, the location of the worker becomes void. If you have an older version of plant simulation, then location will be worker pool. And then we need to wait until the worker location is this new workplace. And then we know, okay, the worker has reached the next position. And so I need to wait until the location of the worker has changed. Then we can wait for loading time, for instance. Just with wait maybe 1 second, and then we move the part to the worker. And then we have the end of this loop, and we go to the next loop for the next part. And then we run inside this loop until we have load all the parts. I check this. Here's my worker. My workplace is here. So my first part in the order is part 2. And you see, okay, the worker is standing at the right position at part 2. After 1 second, he loads part 2, and this is workplace 2, and the position is part 4. This is part 4. And he takes part 4, then the next part, and then it's finished. And he has 3 different parts picked at the right positions. And now I need to go to the train here. But you have to fight with some some behavior of the worker. The worker only unloads the parts in the train if all the destinations of the parts here is train. And so I need to address all the parts the worker carries before we start the movement toward the train. And then the worker will unload these parts automatically inside the train. And so we need one more step here outside of this loop. This we can do also inside of a loop. And we take all the MUs from the worker. And we need to set the destination. And destination should be train. And then we go to train. Okay, and this is the last point. And then maybe you can call this method again to wait for the next order, and then pick the next order parts and so on. And this works also with different racks and so on. But then you need to calculate the right offset of this workplaces. So now I start again. The worker goes to the first. Yes. And so and that's it for this webinar. This is only one approach. The same approach works with markers and a transporter. You can find on my webpage a moving transporter. It's a transporter with the animation of a walker. And you can use the same approach with markers. You can use two markers to control the movement of a transporter. And this you can connect also with forklift or a transporter where the walker has to move on the transporter and move off the transporter, and then move the parts on the transporter, goes on the transporter again, move with the transporter somewhere, and this you cannot do with the worker. With the worker, the worker cannot move onto a transporter, but a transporter can move on a transporter. Also, a HEV can move to a HEV, and so you can create a much a realistic behavior if you need a transporter for your picking process. If the worker only pushes some carrier in front of it, then you can place the image of the box or what he has to carry. You can place it in the image of the worker, and then you can use the worker again to load this carrier if the worker is pushing this carrier. But this is the first decision you have to do. Do you want to use the worker, or do you want to use a transporter to model this behavior? Okay. Any questions?
And we have a question from Amir in the chat.
Is it possible to track and analyze how many workers are actively engaged in the simulation during specific time intervals? and obtain a time-based breakdown of workforce utilization? Yes, you can use the inheritance of the worker. You have here the worker, and if you go to okay, it's German. I'm sorry. The worker knows all its children, and you can use the inheritance of the worker to make some recording. What does each worker do at a certain time? And you can also record some the times of the activities you have in the statistics of the worker. You have portions and times, and if you make some, for instance, using the generator, you can make a lot of data points about the times of the worker, how many time he is actively walking or pausing or waiting for something. And so you can make some recordings depend on a day, an hour. You only need to check the times of the activities in the statistics. And you have here stat a lot of times, and you see, okay, what's recording. It's here export operational time. It's 18 seconds. If you use this kind of worker that it's not mediated, then you only get moving times, and then you will need to record your own statistical value. But if you use the the broker, then you have a lot of times here. That's the simulation collects. And if you take the times here, then you can create from the old time and the new recorded time, you can calculate real times for 1 hour, for instance. This would my recommendation. Yes, I created a complete library for such things here. For you can do with the worker what you want if the worker isn't mediated, but you need to collect your statistics. But you are really flexible in this case here.
If there are multiple workers picking parts, are we going to see some workers gonna wait for the workplace, queuing at the working place?
Not with this approach, because each worker needs to have its own 2 workplaces, and so we don't have a queue on a workplace. You need for the movement 2 workplaces per worker, and so we cannot model in this way, like for instance queues. Then you can place at each part a workplace and then assign for each column in this store 1 workplace, and then if 2 worker needs to go to the same workplace, then maybe you can create a queue. But then if you have a big store with a lot of columns, then you need hundreds or thousands of workplaces. This would be another approach, but it would also work. But then you need to collect in some kind the workplace with a column and with a rack. Yes, and a column.
Yeah, okay, nice. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so let me steal the screen for a minute. These are the upcoming sessions. Normally there would just be 2, but we are going to do on June 1st, live from Realize Live. So Steffen will be presenting in the community corner at Realize Live. and you have an opportunity to participate remotely if you are interested. So you'll be able to kind of see the space. And then just as normal, there'll be the screen share and everything. So if you're able on a Monday to pop in, definitely do that. We'll post about that in the community shortly. But our normal Wednesday sessions will continue on May 27th and June 10th. You can click on any of those links if you'd like to register for those sessions. And then, as always, as you may know, the recording will be posted here in the Plant Simulation user group in the forums on Friday. So you can bookmark that URL if you haven't already. And then the image is just showing that we recommend that you follow the topic by clicking the follow button and then also going to the envelope icon and choosing every post. That way you'll get a system email every time there is an update there. And the only updates are about plant simulation. So definitely take a look at those links and plan to join us for the next few sessions. Other announcement is that our Siemens Accelerator Academy team does have comprehensive courses on plant simulation that are available. You can see different topics there. There's a link for the high level portion, and then there's plant simulation basics and also an associate certificate. If any of those things are interesting to you, you can click on those links there. And then I mentioned Realize Live. In case you weren't sure what it is our annual customer event that is held in actually 4 locations. We could only fit 3 on here. It will be held in Americas in Detroit the first week of June. That's where Steffen and I will be. And doing the hybrid session. It's also in Amsterdam, which I'll be there without doing any sessions, but just with a booth experience. And then if you are in India, they will be in Bangalore this year. You're welcome to join at any of those locations. There's links so you can find out more for those. That's it. This is the end of the announcements. That's Steffen's contact for the community. And then the link, if you didn't grab it already, for the forums. So I'll stop talking and, let's see. So yes, someone asked, they're actually going to be at Realize Live. And can you come to the session? Absolutely. It will show up in the event, what do you call that? The app. So the event app, there will be an agenda and you can select that session, add it to your personal agenda, and then join us in the community corner, which will be very cool. We'd be very happy to see you. Give that one more moment. But yeah, as a reminder, if you are at Realize Live, please do join us in the community corner and come say hi. I'd love to meet you in person. Thanks for the compliments. Patrick is saying this model is very interesting to you, and he'll come say hi to us at Realize Live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe see you next time.
Yes, and see you in the forums, everybody. And then hopefully at Realize Live, there's still time to register if you haven't. Okay. Bye, everyone.